Well, hello, coaches. Welcome back. Coach KW here after a couple of weeks off during summer vacations and such, but school's back in session. I get my Fridays back so I can get in front of the camera without it being 2 a.m. Big thanks to everybody who has been finding my videos. The subscriber count over the last couple of weeks has actually been climbing like crazy, which would be unexpected for the fact that I haven't released any new videos. But here we are. If I help you in any way, shape, or form, the subscribe would be a huge way of thanking me for my time. I do this just to help other volunteer coaches so that they can do a better job for their kids, whether it's something that you have been wanting to do for a while, or maybe you're forced into coaching because nobody else stood up. I'm hopeful that my content can make this a better experience for you and your kids. Today, what we're going to look at is a little bit more of a technical focus. A lot of my videos are big picture, helping coaches understand the big picture, big concepts, things like that. We do have some drill videos out there, but I realized in that process of looking at some of my videos and in the process of helping some of my other town coaches working on things during their preseason, I need to spend a little bit more time with you coaches, helping you to know how to coach certain particular items and things so that you understand the finer points if you're coming to the game without a lot of playing experience or a high level coaching experience. So today we're going to look at receiving specifically. We're going to look at a very simple exercise that I have a drill video on out there. It's the 4-cone passing drill. You can find it. I'll put a link down in the description. It's a foundational drill. Pretty much you pass in a circle or a square around some cones and players pass and receive and follow the pass. It's a really simple setup, but you can use this setup to really focus on how they receive and take their first touch. And that's the spot where I think coaches who come to it from a volunteer standpoint, who maybe don't understand the game or didn't play the game at a higher level, don't really know what it is they're looking to do and what they're asking their kids to do. So that's what we're going to look at. We're going to look at some video of some of my 6th grade boys in preseason. They had a really good day. They were doing this drill and I captured some video, and it really highlights the coaching points that you want to make with your players so that they really start to make this part of an ingrained way of how they handle what the ball comes to them, no matter what drill or game situation. We'll then look at some game footage from a bunch of different teams and a bunch of different games, so you'll see it in action. It's one of those things that once you see it, you're going to start watching pro games and you're going to realize you see it all of the time and you didn't notice it before. So that's what I hope here. So let's go take a look at some of the videos. I'll give you some of those coaching points and we'll wrap up, okay? All right, coaches, so what we have here is our basic 4-square passing. We got one player off to the left you can't see because I've stepped away from the cone. I like using the big tall cones because they get in the way of the ball as opposed to the flat ones, so they have to work a little bit harder. But as always, the cones represent defenders, so we always ask our players, what do the cones mean? Defenders, so that they stand off of those cones. Too many times players just want to stand on top of the cones, and that's not the point of the cones. The cones are always defenders, so we're trying to check away. That's one piece of this skill that we want them to learn. What we're going to be focusing on in this video is the first touch and receiving on the back foot. So what does receiving on the back foot means? So in the most simplest terms, what it means is when that ball is traveling from one player to the other, the player receiving the ball is going to let the ball roll across their body to the foot that's furthest away from where the ball came from. And we'll stop this video in a second and show that. So let's just get this moving across. So right there, let's just back this up just a little bit. You can see here as the ball is coming into number 10, he's turning his hips and letting the ball roll across his body to the foot that's furthest away from the player that passed the ball. That's what receiving on the back foot is. A lot of times in this drill, players will receive this ball on their front foot. That would be, of course, the foot that's closest to the ball, this foot, without turning. And so they touch the ball back towards the other player. Then they have to take another touch to get the ball over to this foot before they can pass the ball off in this direction. And that's what we're trying to eliminate. We're trying to allow them to receive that ball on the back foot so that now their touch allows them to go in almost any direction. The other part of receiving on the back foot is what a player can see when they do that. The whole point of playing on the back foot is that you open your hips up. And when you open your hips up, you're now putting your shoulders in the direction that the field is in usually. So this player now, because they've opened their hips, their angle of what they can see is a big sort of 90 to 180 degrees in front of them. If they don't open their hips and they're facing the player that passed them, then all they can see is from where the ball came from in this direction, and they have to work harder to look to see where else is going on the field. And we'll look at that in the big picture video. The video when we look at them playing in the game, we'll see this over and over again. So that's the first part of this basic piece. We'll let this go around a few more times. You can see, right? Ball, first touch out, one touch forward, first touch forward. And you can see they're really in a good flow here. We're going to use this player right here with our back to us right now to demonstrate some other components of this that are good coaching points. So a lot of times we're talking about receiving on the back foot, and the players are just kind of like leave their back foot out. If I'm going to be nitpicky here on this player's positioning at the moment, he's too square. He's flat. He's facing directly the teammate who's passing the ball. Ideally, I want this player, especially in this drill, to be 45 degrees. I want their feet to be more faced in this direction so they can both see the ball coming and where they're going. But what we'll see here is this player has a really good set of technique where he is going to initiate the move with his foot to open up, not with his foot, not even with his knee, but what's important here is he actually uses his hips. He snaps his hips open, and by driving this process from the hip and not the foot or even the knee, that's what helps bring his torso around into the correct formation so that ball can come across. So let's watch that right here. Right there. See that snap of the hip where he does that? He's square onto the ball. He's on his toes. He's ready for this ball to come. As that ball comes, he's snapping his hip open, and now he's able to turn. Now, again, ideally, if he was at 45 degrees, the hip turn wouldn't be so dramatic, but this is an excellent way of showing where that hip turn comes from and why it's so important, because now you can see this player, because he knows where he's playing this ball. He's playing it off to his right. That hip turn has allowed him to snap the ball open because his hip is open, so his knee is gone in that direction and his foot is gone in that direction, and now he can pick his head up and see where the partner is by that other cone and can play that pass. In a game-like situation, it's the same concept. He snaps his body open, he's received that ball quickly, he's disguised where he's going to go with that because he's waited till the last second, and now he can play a ball in any direction. That's not to say that he can't take this ball and go back towards the way that the ball came from, but in this situation, we're giving him all the options to do that because of that opening of the hips, to push that knee out, to get that foot out, to get into that 45 degree so he can see around the field. You can see there, that's a little bit less of a dramatic turn, but his feet position a little bit more on the 45 degree when he receives us so he can touch that ball out and then step into it and play the pass forward. What's also important here is a lot of players are lazy with their foot and they keep it on the ground. And what happens when it's on the ground is they tend to pop the reception of the ball up. So part of this receive is to pick up the leg so that now you can see here the foot and the knee have been raised up. Here's his knee. Here's his foot off the ground. So he's lifted his leg from that hip, pulling up his knee. So now that this foot can contact the middle of the ball, not underneath it where it would pop up. And you can see when this ball comes to this player, it's a very clean touch. You can see here, he's lifted his foot, but his toe is pointing down. The ball is inside of him. He hasn't really turned his hips. He's only tried to turn his knee and his leg out in that direction. And because of that, the ball is going to pop up on him, and he's not able to control it as well as he'd like. Now, that ball hops up right before it gets to him, which is a little unfortunate. But again, if he was in the right position, he'd have more of his foot in front of that ball, or behind that ball. And instead, it kind of hits off his toe and kind of flexes in the direction he wants, but gets away from him. Whereas you can see on some of these other reps, as the ball bounces at them, they're able to get more of the meat of their instep on that ball and keep it from bouncing any further into the air. He does a better job there. Right, and there's our snap, and away we go. All right, so let's watch this on our first game situation here. We're going to have 4 passes here, and all 4, you're going to see my players take it on the back foot here. So first we'll just run it through. As it plays through, it's kickoff, the beginning of the game. So there's our first. Here comes our second. Turn and a half turn, third. And this one here, even though the player turns his back, that's still playing on the back foot to protect that ball. So let's take this back to the beginning, and we'll look at each one in turn. So there's this first one. That's the player we highlighted in the drill video. You can see the hip snap, the knee come up, the foot in the middle of the ball, good body shape. Again, body shape is really important when receiving the ball. Now, at this point here, he's already planning to play back to the center back, but again, because of the technique, he's able to see this player, he's able to see these players here. Ultimately, the ball is going to go off screen, but he can also see out to his wide area. So he basically has a 180 degree view across this line here. He could even play straight up to the striker if need be. As the next pass comes through, he plays it back to the center back, who takes it, again, opened up. He's already looking as the ball comes in to see what he has available. But again, because he's taking it on the back foot, his body shape is open. He's able to basically now see everything in front of this line, in front of him across the field, giving him as many options as he needs to be. He's not closed down. He's not looking to one side. If he received this on his front foot and had kept his body facing the way the ball came, his options would have been in front of this line, which would have been much more restrictive. He basically would have only had probably a play to the opposite center back or maybe his keeper. But because he took it the way he did on his back foot, he basically has the whole field in front of him. Now he plays back into my 6, who is ready and available. He's got his good body shape. You can see he's moving his feet. And as he turns and takes it on the half turn, look at his head come up and be able to look and see what's available for him. Again, now, but because he took it on that back foot, he's now able to see everything in front of him. He's got options all over the place, including the one we don't see on the field that he takes, which is the far winger. He plays that ball out to him. And now here, you can see how high that ball is bouncing. He turns his back, but now that he's turned his back foot is now the one he's receiving on. He's trying to protect that ball because he knows there's pressure coming on him, and he's putting his body between the ball and the player coming at him. So that's a great use of his body while still using the back foot to receive. If that ball wasn't bouncing so high and so difficult to him, he probably at this point then just plays a simple pass back to the center back. But because the ball is just bouncing across the New England turf here early in the spring, and it's not the smoothest surface on the world, he does a great job just trying to keep it under control. Unfortunately, ends up out of bounds. So a great example of in-game where playing to the back foot is useful for, again, body shape and being able to have vision into the field, picking your head up and having multiple options to play that ball. And this last example is a great example in-game. Here's an MLS Next U15 game. You'll notice a player highlighted. It's part of a recruitment video for a player. But you're going to watch this sequence of playing out of the back. How many of these passes are played to the back foot allows them to turn and open up. So it's a great example. So we'll just kind of let this play through without a lot of commentary. But you can see here, there's the player that's being highlighted in this particular video, right? Pressures comes in. Play kind of bobbles it, right? Technique's not perfect. One touchback, open. That's the back foot pass there. Looking for an option. Plays off to his center back partner. Opens up back foot. Able to see what's going on. Just watch, right? That player plays it with the inside of his foot. But same thing. Now player looks up. He's able to see that there's space in front of him with that touch. Now he can play into a player. Plays off, and now we have a cross coming across the field. So you can see so many times how that back foot pass allows them to just be able to see everything that's in front of them and give them all the options they need to have while they're playing out of the back under pressure. Well, coaches, I hope you find that useful and instructive. Receiving technique, receiving on the back foot, opening up, that skill can be used almost all over the field, and it's super valuable, again, for playing out of the back, for receiving under pressure, for making combinations with your teammates all the things. It's so foundational. This is a skill you could work on with youth players from, honestly, from second or third grade all the way through high school, frankly, if they haven't got it, because it's such a big part and a foundational part of the game that allows so much more to happen once you're able to master this. Is it the only way to receive the ball? Do you always need to receive the ball in the back foot? No, that's not how the game works. But even watching a pro game, you'll see 60, 70, maybe even 80% or more of the balls played. Players are receiving it in that way because it just allows them to open up their chest, open up their hips, open up their face, where they're looking on the field, and be able to see the next option as it presents itself. So I hope you found this valuable. Like, share, and subscribe. And until the next time, we'll see you out there in the fields. Bye-bye.